Welcome to the Freight Agent Insider Podcast, hosted by Levi Van Pay.
And we're back. Welcome in, everybody, to Freight Agent Insider. I'm your host, Levi. So thankful and happy to have you all back for another episode. We're going to have a lot of fun today. I can't wait to introduce this agent to you. It's a first timer on the show, and he is going to add a lot of value and a lot of laughs to this episode. But before we introduce him, I want to cover a couple quick show notes for you all. The first and foremost is, I've said it quite a few times now, guys, but I'm going to keep saying it. We have the first ever Freight Agent Conference. It's called Freight Agent Expo, coming up in January 15th and 16th of January 2027. That's in Las Vegas at the Fontainebleau. Go to fax27.com. You'll see the entire list of speakers that we have. We got to get a couple more on there. Dale Dupree, he's coming out. We don't have his photo up yet. Ben Ham, large agent, he's going to come out. So we're going to have some cool guest speakers. Check that out. I also want to give a quick shout out to SPI, who is our first official sponsor of the, our first official agent sponsor, I should say, of Freight Agent Expo. They wrote the big check. Shout out SPI. Thank you, guys. It's going to be fun to have you all out. Wherever you're watching the show from right now or listening in, whether it is Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, if you guys wouldn't mind stopping, pausing right now, and make sure to follow, subscribe, like. It really helps us out. It signals to the algorithm that we're not a worthless waste of time and gets more eyeballs and ears on the show. So I really appreciate that, guys. And the last thing is, if you do want to get involved in the show, you can go to freightagentinsider.com. We have a very cool new website. You can go to the page on the website, go on air, pre-record a question, and we will play it live on the show for our guests. Okay, let's dive into this. Let's have some fun. I'd like to introduce everyone to the legendary Garrett Bowers. How are you, man?
Legendary. I love that. Thanks, Levi. I'm going to have to flip you $20 for that one.
Nothing but truth, man. So how are you today, GB? What's happening in your neck of the woods? What's agent life like today for you?
Yeah, agent life is great, actually. I would tell you I wouldn't have it any other way, especially in the logistics space right now. And I think the way the market is treating anybody, the agents that set themselves apart, that continue to go out there and utilize their resources, are the ones that are just going to make it, regardless of what economic factors are thrown at them. They're the ones that the carriers are calling for loads. They're the one that the customers are still relying on regardless. Agencies out there that are strong, they tend to be able to weather anything. Yeah, they like to see the ups and downs and they like to talk about them. But when it comes down to it, it's business as normal for the good guys.
Yeah, man. And you've been really honest about, we were just talking about this before we bounced into the show here, but you've been really honest about the ups and downs of agent life on LinkedIn, where I've always loved your content because of the brutal honesty of it. And recently you were talking a little bit about how margins for your agency have been relatively suppressed.
Yeah.
Before I kind of ask you about that and kind of this journey that you've been on, I'd love a little bit of backstory on how you've got here, just to tell the listeners and fill us all in.
Well, yeah, man. So I grew up underneath trucks. I run a third generation transportation company. So my grandfather started it as a rock sand gravel company in Ponca City, Oklahoma, north central Oklahoma, population just under 30,000. We don't even have a Chick-fil-A. Okay. I mean, it's a small town in Oklahoma. But we also kind of consider ourselves a micropolitan. And what's cool about where Ponca City is located, if you take a look on the map, it is right in the middle of a triangle between Wichita, Kansas, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so from a logistical standpoint, if you can service those three major metros, from their manufacturing and their other industry spikes in those communities from a 90-mile vantage point to Ponca City, you're in a pretty good spot, right? And so that kind of basically assesses what our golden triangle is. I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
right there. If we can service and attract the businesses, the manufacturers, the distribution centers, the anybody that has logistics needs in that golden triangle, outbound and inbound, we're probably going to be okay. And that's kind of what we've really leveraged our business model after here for many years. My dad stepped in 2000. He grew the company uh, pretty pretty good size, but again, it was all rock, sand, gravel. He took on, a few different independent jobs, worked for some major players in the asphalt and the concrete business. And then I come in 2007 after graduating Oklahoma State, go Pokes, and had
Go
just some
Pokes.
other ideas. Man, our largest customer at the time was an asphalt company that owned 6 asphalt plants and 5 rock quarries, right? And we kept a steady number of trucks servicing their needs. And so when they sell to APAC, which is obviously a global construction materials force, they didn't need little Bowers trucking,
Right.
to
Right.
do with what they were doing, because not only are they operating in Oklahoma, but they're operating in other states and they're pulling trucks over Texas and Arkansas and all these other things, right? And so they just don't need us. And so I had to reinvent, I had to pivot. And so it was realizing, kind of where the gem that Ponca City was and could be and all of those things. I mean, it's actually like the 4th largest manufacturing hub in the state of Oklahoma. There's a
Incredible.
lot of really cool stuff there. I've got some SPI leadership that visited me last summer. They're also coming down. A couple different leadership members are coming down to meet me in July, and we're gonna kind of tour Ponca City and show them, kind of what all gets made here. And
Love that.
so I'm excited about that because I'm really proud of my hometown. But yeah, trying to figure out what it would take to really diversify what we do. And so started buying a couple flatbeds, started buying a couple dry vans, and
Yeah.
that compounded. You kind of get people going, oh, you're not just local anymore. You're doing these things. And yeah, it took a different driver, obviously, that we were recruiting for. And then
Yep.
fast forward to about 2015, Levi, I was really tired of saying no, that I couldn't cover loads. I'm noticing that, brokerages start up alongside carrier companies. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I need to start a brokerage. This is me just throwing, I mean, if anybody knows anything about me and my uh, business leadership and my entrepreneurial leadership, it usually takes about 5 minutes of thought followed by 5 years of action, just to try to make something happen. I mean, I am a ready, fire, aim kind of guy.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, and that's just me. It's really tough. And I think over business, it's really taken me a lot of time to hone in on exactly where my blind spots are and, what I'm good at. But we started the brokerage. I had a little over $6,000 in a college savings account.
Mm-hmm.
And man, Levi, I'm brokering loads and I've got revenue coming in. I've got a little bit of cash, but I'm trying to pay carriers quick. And I mean, I am writing checks that could bounce to the ceiling. But thankfully I had a good bank behind me. I had some people that really believed in me. And in about 6 years, we grew that brokerage, Bowers Logistics, as it were, to 24 million in revenue. Um,
Incredible.
a lot of great people behind me. A lot of great people that were learning the differences between what flatbeds should be used for and what the difference of step deck is. Curtain side vans and why do we need a Conestoga here? And, all of these particular things, differences between uh, reefers can be vans, but vans can't be reefers, right? I
Yep.
mean, you're teaching people all of these things, and it was stuff that I just thought everybody knew, but again, I grew up underneath trucks. I was washing tools, washing trucks, greasing trucks, doing those things, and so I
It's
really,
crazy how when you don't come from this industry, how often those
yeah,
things make no sense. Like I've
it's a
talked
learning
about this
curve.
on. It is, man. Like when I got into the industry, I think it was 2020. I was working for Western Express,
Okay,
and the first time they told me about flatbeds, I thought they were talking about like beds, like ones you sleep in. I had no
yeah,
no clue. there's a learning curve to it.
When you're in the logistics space, you're speaking in a different language. And that's what my wife, has told me. I will tell you, bless her heart, we've been married for 16 years, and
Congratulations.
she noticed what we would do, like on a road trip or whatnot. And I'm just
Yeah.
looking at trucks and I'm going, hey, you know how their company started? Or, hey, yeah, I know this family. You should really listen to their story. You should, all this. And I'm like, oh, I know exactly what they're hauling. Yeah, they have this contract. What an awesome contract it would be to have that, And she's like, Garrett, I don't care, I don't care, So yeah, it's one of those things. But my son, I had him, he knew the difference between a van and a reefer early on. He knew to look
Yeah.
for that fuel tank on the side to tell me the right answer.
100. Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So Bowers Logistics, right?
Yeah.
Going
Yeah.
into 2020. So what happened leading up to 2020 and then into the 2020s? What transpired?
There's a big black mark on the calendar of 2020 for everybody, right? 2019, we decided as a trucking company, that we were going to grow a little bit, but we really needed to replace a fleet. So we ordered 40 trucks, and which was the largest order that we'd ever made. But we planned on receiving these 40 trucks. We ordered in December 2019. We were going to start receiving them about May, June of 2020. And we were going to get 2 trucks a month on the build dates. We had the slots made. I had the price protection put in place for 2 years. We were just going to roll these in and continually sub out the fleet, as it were, at that time. I don't have to tell you that that was a great game plan, but it didn't happen for anybody. Um, Spring of 2020, COVID comes around, shuts everything down, basically throws the rule book out the window for a lot of industries. And truck manufacturing, truck sales, no different. I think we remember used truck prices climbing to what new truck prices were. New truck prices, you had to fight to keep your build dates. I should have, looking back, hired an attorney to keep my 2-year price protection intact. Didn't know at the time that that was even going to be affected until it was too late. A lot of different things went into keeping an old fleet band-aided together with some of our existing very critical, very great customers that are still with me today. But I mean, I had to come to them with a whole lot of sorry, and they had to come back to me with a whole lot of understanding to really, keep that business going, because I had trucks that were just grenades. They were out there. They're now 5-6 years old, and in long haul, that's not always the greatest model, especially when you have a number of company drivers. And we had some independent owner operators too, thankfully, that were really helping our fleet beyond our company truck scope. And we were just trying to keep things until, knowing, hey, we've got new trucks coming in. We've got them coming in. They're going to be here in 3 months. Well, 3 years later, they finally started showing up. And that's tough. We went very cash flow negative. I took a wildly successful brokerage at that time, leveraged foolishly leveraged, my balance sheet capital to save what was my grandfather's, my dad's legacy, to the tune of over $3 million
Wow.
to try to save Bowers Trucking. Black Swan events that took place at that time when things started to get tight for us. Payables started to get extended, and cash flow was obviously on both sides starting to drip down into negatives. I had people that I had known for a long time that I trusted take sign-on bonuses to go work for other companies, taking with the contingency to take my book of business with them, my contacts, and other things. People that I had trained, the difference between a flatbed and a step deck, the difference between a van and a reefer and a box truck, and other things. People that I had worked with, and you really find out who your friends are. But rightfully so. I think most of those guys are doing pretty well, and look back at what that was because we were having fun. We were growing fast, but we were still having a good time, thinking that we were in there disrupting the industry, which we were.
Yep.
Uh, but what they didn't know is behind the scenes, I, as a company leader, as a business owner, as somebody trying to, as a freight nerd, but trying to also be a finance nerd, trying to also be these other things, was learning a lot.
Right.
And sometimes learning lessons not so much at the speed of pace of which they were really coming to fruition. And that's the truth of it. Fast forward, we had a really horrible accident take place from a trucking company that we hired, that ended up a fatality accident in Texas. And this company we hired, vetted them. They had pulled a load for our brokerage before, so we thought, hey, this should be fine. They were not rated in the FMCSA. Now let's think
Right.
about that with our technology, our tech stacks today, and our carrier, what do you want to say, compliance
Yeah.
rigors, that we go through today.
Yep.
It would have never flown. Okay. But we didn't have that. And those are things that I would tell you that I would have invested in more knowing what I know now. But again, we hire them. They're not rated. The shipper leaves Bowers Trucking, our asset company, on the bill of lading. So when this personal injury lawsuit, wrongful death suit comes out, they're not only naming uh, my brokerage, they're naming my trucking company. My
Boy.
trucking company at that time was not working with just a 100 or just a $1 million GL. They were working with a $3 million umbrella on top of that. These were deaths. As you can imagine, shippers getting called in, my brokerage is getting called in with all of its GL capacity. And then of course the trucking company is called in for its GL capacity. And Levi, this happened in 2021. It just settled last month, uh,
Oh my gosh.
for the total payouts of everybody's GLs. So that's what you call the nuclear verdict, right?
Right.
And so we had to reorganize. Um, Bowers Logistics, as it were, no longer exists. Bowers Trucking, as it were, no longer exists, because we just wanted to make sure that no corporate veil could be pierced. I need to protect my family, need to protect my wife,
Yep.
and obviously,
Absolutely.
there's hard decisions, hard truths, hard things that really led to me being an agent. Now, let me flip this over to a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel here. 23, 24 were some dark, painful years for us. I mean, it was tough. And the
Absolutely.
people that are with me, that stuck with me, they know it. I mean, they absolutely know it. My friends, my family, all of them, were really kind of wondering, what does this look like? Because wow, we were used to, Garrett and the business just kind of winning, a lot, and he's not right now. Uh, Fast forward to Chris Jolly, and
Freight coach.
I man, yeah, I do a podcast with him in some of those dark days, but he wants to kind of focus on the wins and do some of those things. But then I'm listening more and more to Jolly every day. And he brings up this company, SPI. And I'm like,
Hmm.
SPI, all right, I'm gonna look into them. And then I connect with Jolly again after like our second podcast. He had me on a couple times, and
Yeah.
I connect with him. I'm like, hey, tell me about them. He goes, oh. He goes, this is the way to go. What do you, I'm like, all right, let me talk to somebody there, because I
Yeah.
looked at a few different agent models when I was running our own brokerage thinking, what does it take to hire agents? Maybe this is it. Lo and behold, a few years later, I'd be looking at it as what does it take to become one?
Right.
So I look at these things and I just pour my soul out to the leadership team of SPI, and they're all kind of looking at themselves at the table going, that's a lot. And
Sure.
we not only would we love to have you, but I think we're going to allow you to focus on what you're good at, and really remove a lot of those blind spots for you, and probably really allow you to turn the corner So let's make a deal. Let's get a partnership. Let's do something here. And we did. March 2025. Um, Mike invites me to rendezvous. I haven't turned a tap for them yet, and I go to SPI, and I am seeing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Within the top 50 agents of their company, right? And I am talking to them, and I am trying to dig out horror stories. I'm like, all right, all of this looks great.
Yeah.
Tell me, what do I need to look out for?
When does
What?
the other shoe drop? Right.
And everybody's looking at me like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "No, come on. What's up?" No, I'm talking to agents that have been there for 10, 15, some of them over 20 years. I mean, I'm talking to them going, "Okay, but really, what do I need to?" And they're like, "No, uh, this is the license to print money." I'm like, "Really?" And they're like, "No, you have an entire staff that is focused on making sure that you have the resources that you need. And if you don't have them, if they don't have them, they're going to figure out how to get them to you, or they're going to figure out something with your customer to compromise and get it done." I mean, like
Right.
there's just no, and I mean, I'm going through that today. We have a couple companies in our pipeline that belong
Mm-hmm.
to companies that we have worked for a long time, that mergers, taking place. But in order to set up with these companies, it's almost like impossible. And SPI is like, it's not impossible. Like, let's get in there and do those
I
things.
love
And
that.
we are. Well, I mean, we've got MSAs in front of everybody signed by our leadership with a few things changed. And, again, it's just, it tells me the level of vigor, the level of problem solving, the level of let's figure out how to get to yes that SPI is. And if I would have known what I know now in 2016, I really would have just started this to coincide with what we were doing, because I truly think now, when we're posting customer freight and we're protecting customer freight, um, or we're trying to leverage, certain things, we're swinging a brokerage now with a, 300 climbing to $400 million revenue stick. I mean,
Right.
we're posting alongside the bigger ones, and our tech stack allows us to really separate ourselves, not only from carrier quality to, what customers want the most, which is cargo safety.
Right.
They want to know, and you would not believe how many customers are even talking to me today going, "Man, I mean, you're putting your name behind this, Garrett." And I could say without hesitation, yeah, because I've seen what it looks like on the other
Right.
side, not knowing, having my own brokerage before, and maybe suffering a potential cargo loss and other things, going, "God, how are we going to make this right?" And I've seen, where we've had, even just traffic accidents and other things like that might have damaged cargo, and how SPI's uh, cargo claims team just swarms the particular issue, and makes the customer feel like, wow, everybody's, really reacting to this. Everybody's really engaging. They want to make it right. It's pretty
Yep.
awesome. And so again, I circle back to say the agent model has allowed me to come out of my shell and realize where my role is in the industry, where my role is as a sales leader, uh, is as to try to influence, to try to motivate, to try to bring people into this industry, who might not have thought about this as a path.
Yeah.
We want them to obviously work and train under me for a little while. And then operationally, we want to be just as efficient as we can as an agency,
Right.
to try to do some of the things that, frankly, other service providers can't do.
Right. Garrett, can I ask you a question? And in hindsight is 2020, but you started the brokerage. It was really black swan events that you had no control of. So nobody can ever come back and say you failed in any way. You didn't fail. You
Well,
can't
I
control
did.
the you can't control the uncontrollable. And that's really
Yeah.
what a lot of this was. And that nuclear verdict was before the Montgomery ruling, well
Yeah.
before it.
That's
Um,
exactly. When I saw that Supreme Court ruling come out, it's just like, yes, brokerages beware. It happened to me. I
does that
understand.
does
Yeah,
that shine a light on the agent model though? Because like looking back in
perhaps.
hindsight, you don't have the same level of liability as a brokerage, as an agent, as you do as a brokerage owner,
Yep.
because if something does go nuclearly wrong, I mean, that's terrible for the brokerage, but as an agent, you can still pivot in a lot of ways. As for the brokerage, not so much. Am I correct or am I wrong there? Or is it kind of a
No,
middle
I
ground?
think you're right. I think you want to make sure that your agents are doing their due diligence when it comes to hiring
Right.
practices and doing
Right.
those things, right? And so the technology that we have now has its own blocks in place, but SPI has always been about that well before the Montgomery ruling. I mean, I was hired on well over a year before that ruling came out. And again, I want to, kind of touch base on things that I know you've already talked about before, but the
Please.
Montgomery ruling doesn't make it the law. It just makes a case for another attorney or another case to be able to cite, right? And yeah, it's pretty cool for you to sit here and say, well, the Supreme Court said, at this time, in when you're talking about tort claims and whatnot. But ruling is also a lot of what I tell people when they ask me that, question that anybody outside the industry always wants to ask. Well, what's self-driving trucks going to do to your industry, or what's AI doing to your industry? Are you going to be replaced? And I'm like, funny you say that. you know, let's just imagine that first fatality accident that happens with a self-driving truck. I mean, how many personal injury attorney firms are going to line up to try to get that?
Oh my
To
gosh.
know
I
that they
can't
can
even.
open the door, not just with the insurability of the name on the side of that truck, but the technology and other things like there that said they were safe behind it, and what
Right.
kind of red tape contracts were there to implement that technology and put that on the road? We don't know.
Right.
That is vicious right there. And now you're opening up personal injury into Silicon Valley, and look out right there. I don't
With
know.
with the driverless truck thing, and I've always questioned this a little bit, GB, but what do you think about this? Like, there are certain situations with a driverless vehicle. Let's say it's going down 66 or wherever, it's on a long haul and something goes wrong, tire blows. Wouldn't you still need somebody on the truck to not just a blowout, but anything
Yeah.
mechanically going wrong?
Yep.
So do drivers still maintain those jobs? They just become more of like a hybrid mechanic,
Well, that's
or
it. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, the conditions of that person on board, we wouldn't necessarily call him a driver, right? We might call him a co-driver or a passenger, whatever you want to say in that
sure.
sense. But yeah, maybe they're arrested, maybe they're just, running diagnostics the entire time. That something happens and they're able to call in. But we know as well now that, when we have engine failures, our trucks have the ability to dial in, fault codes to our softwares and typically tell us where the nearest, service station is. And sometimes if you're getting really involved, they can tell you whether or not that service station has the part you need, which is really great, right? I mean, all of that technology exists today. So I don't see the driverless vehicle being a an applicable implementation unless we're talking about short mile DC to DC, and
Right.
we'll consider short mile anything less than 400 miles. Okay, but I think from your LTL and your maybe some of your parcel strategies that take place, you can potentially say that one of these days you're probably going to have a lot of warehouse workers that are managing 20 to 30 trucks in a DC. They're loading these trucks and they're pulling them into this check station so they can program in where this truck needs to go, right? And they're going to send this truck on the road, but it's probably only going on this specific route on this specific interstate, right? To
Mm-hmm.
these particular areas, and it's checking back in at its checkpoint where a human takes control of it again, backs it in the dock, and they do what they need to do for them to go on human driven trucks there for final
Right.
mile application or long haul.
Right.
And I think it's right there that we see, yeah, that's the driverless vehicle. The drone thing, it's not a reality yet. We've talked about it, but also I don't want to sit here and be the naysayer on technology, because I think I would have been wildly entertained with what's going on in the industry right now 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
we don't want to say it can't happen, but I just, from my vantage point today, I don't see it replacing long haul. You can't replace it with grain, you
Right.
know, uh, flatbed. I mean, so many of these other things. But you could say that your DC to DC moves and other
Hmm.
things like that. There's a chance that that becomes something to really look at. And does that allow other CDL drivers to apply it elsewhere? Well, it's not like we're going to change the breed and the mindset of any of our commercial professional drivers out there to go, you know what? Shucks, I can't work my local regional job anymore. I guess I better go over the road, you know? No, they're gonna
Right.
find something else. I mean, that's just the thing of it. Uh,
100%. And on the
yeah,
topic of being replaced, Garrett, it's
yeah,
kind of the same sentiment, I guess, with agents or brokers. I don't foresee that happening. Also, and one of the reasons why is I'll just use it as an example here. In the last week, I saw two large agent programs were heavily bought or heavily invested in. Two of
okay,
them, two large
uh-huh,
ones, 500
uh-huh.
million plus both. So wouldn't private equity be very, very weary or cautious if that was the case? If they truly who do the ultimate due diligence, by the way, wouldn't
Yeah, I
you
think that's
think
fair.
they would say, yeah, this is not an investable business model if AI is about to replace
That's right.
brokers and agents? Am I off base on that, or
I don't think
what are
so.
your thoughts?
My thoughts on this are two things. You do not need to put AI in front of the most powerful sales generators of your business. You know, you can't replace that there. And I understand everybody is like, well, but sales leader so and so, his or her bonuses are this, and it's really costing the company this. Whereas AI could do this, and even if AI is able to replace a fraction, you'll find that that business will just slowly just go away. It'll dissipate, over time. And what is the cost of truly losing business when it comes to those things and trying to scale back? I think during the pandemic, we saw, Levi, like a lot of just man up,
Mm-hmm.
and they realized, hey, there's truck driver shortage. And lo and behold, the truck driver shortage meant that we were going to introduce a lot of non-domiciled, flying under the radar, flying under regulation, carriers. But bam, at least our grocery stores didn't run out of toilet paper again. And
God
so,
willing.
I mean, that's it. Headlines created problems, and there's always an
Right.
adverse effect, right? And here it is now. We're getting rid of those non-domiciled things. We're calling in, the Gestapo tactics to try to make sure these guys get pulled off the road. And now, what are your prices at the grocery store? And that's not all just transportation inflationary factors. There's other inflationary factors, contributing to those particular things. But look at C.H. Robinson. They said, shit, we scaled up. And then anybody that really wants to talk about the harsh truths of the transportation industry knows that 23, 24, and the better part of 2025 was freaking tough. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the bubble popped, the
Yep.
margins got compressed. Uh, your operating costs did not do anything but go up, but freight demand, stayed stagnant, and cost or rates per mile being offered just simply went down. And if you were not willing to get competitive, you were not getting business. Ball was in the shipper's court. I mean, that's just what it was at that time. And so you have C.H. Robinson and other large brokerages that, I mean, they're trendsetters, regardless of what we want to say, good or bad about them. They are trendsetters, but they just say massive layoffs. You get the Coyote RXO merger. You get these things, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, they're going to replace. Here's what they're doing to say that no, we're not laying off. We're investing in AI. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we are
That's
going to
right.
put lipstick on this pig, and we are going to
That's right.
say this is really what we're doing. We're
Yep.
investing in AI. But and I'm not trying to throw shade or anything, but there's ways around it, and Ryan Transportation is really good at it. But have you ever tried to call and get a load from Ryan Transportation? So we're a carrier too. So every now
Right.
and then I'm helping the team and I'm catching a reload for somebody and I'll see something on there from Ryan Transportation. And when I've got the bot talking to me, acting like they're typing on a keyboard,
The little click, 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 click.
and
Yeah.
immediately I'm just like representative, you know, and I
Speak
don't
to
know.
human.
Yeah, the bot almost snarls at me, I think, over the phone. "Oh, all right, what is the offer or what is the reference number so I can get you to the right person?"
Yeah.
And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't wanna go through negotiating with a bot. And not only that, but like what kind of good carriers is RTS probably losing by just going,
Absolutely.
"I don't even wanna screw with that," Like, I don't even
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't wanna screw with that. I'm not gonna sit here and negotiate with a bot. Third party logistics providers are exactly that, third
Right.
party. Your
That's right.
your carriers are your customers too, man. You
Right.
you better be treating them right. And that's where I think independent agents are, like you said, I'm gonna bring this finally around full circle and
Hmm.
give you the Gettysburg Address to your question that you asked. But it is it's really saying, like, if you are not that agent, if you are not that broker that's able to say, I've got carriers that call me every day looking for your lane, like the lane that you're having a hard time working right now. I have carriers that want to do this, not I'm going to go out here and post and pray and watch me work.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, that's awesome. Join 10 other brokers out here and let's see if we can blow the lane up even
Absolutely.
more. I mean, like it's just not that's not feasible. But if you
Right.
got carriers that trust you, just like customers that trust you, you're going to watch some magic happen.
Absolutely. Garrett, I want to kind of tailor this back to the very beginning because there's something that I've always loved about you is, and it sounds like the leadership at SPI as well, is your brutal honesty you have, just like you've kind of opened the doors to your story. And like, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. There was a lot of
Yeah.
cloudy, rainy days in there.
Yeah.
So on LinkedIn, you did post about how margin compression is
Yeah.
really weighing on your business as of now. Like you showed everything about it. So what is your outlook moving forward? I mean, capacity is super tight. That's not really helping anything right now. But what is your outlook with not only the market in general, but your agency? Where do you see this heading?
So, yeah, I think you text me, like the kind of question of where do you see yourself in 3 years? Where's this thing going? Um, Me and my internal leadership team have really evaluated what we did wrong, what we can do right. So our carrier side, I'm going to kind of answer both sides of this. Our carrier side is strictly investing in nothing but flatbed and drive-in. We're not going temperature controlled. We're not going RGN specialty. We're not, now we're gonna work those customers because we know that side. We know those carriers that worked with us before. We know how to bid that freight. But from an asset side, I'm going to be the most lean that we can be as far as being insured, as far as where we travel, as far as the drivers that we hire and the freight that we haul. We are developing nothing but relationships and direct shipping contracts for everywhere that we go and making sure that our deadhead miles stay below 15% every single month. Um, we've done that. I think our new carrier team is about almost 4 months old,
Hmm.
and the cash flow is really showing how that is effective. It's not going to be necessarily about big truck numbers as much as it's going to be that making every move with an absolutely accountable purpose, keeping everything in line matters, to what we do with that asset company. Switching over to the brokerage, not like we're opening that up wildly. We want to focus on those specific modes, of course, that our assets can back up necessarily,
Hmm.
but we're treating it as a completely different business. The brokerage is really around finding those people that are scratching their heads, wanting to know, okay, where where my freight travels, the securities that my freight needs, the other things that my customers and receivers and whatnot demands, and how can you make that piece work from a logistical standpoint, and how can you beat out this carrier this asset team that's, knocking
Mhm.
out my door. There's always that question of, well, how do you get into shippers that just want brokers? Or I mean, sorry, that just want asset companies and they
Right.
don't want brokers. And we're answering that right now with a few different food distribution networks, and really showing them that there's a great deal of value to be had when they have a broker not sitting always at the primary spot, but sitting at that number 3, number 4 spot. Because quite frankly, there is only so much capacity to go around.
Right.
And I know a lot of people say, oh, there's not a truck driver shortage. Yeah, there is. There's a truck driver shortage to do what I think we need to do. There's a truck driver shortage to go beyond 500 miles every day.
Right.
And
Right.
and when I talk about those margins compressing, it's about those lanes that are in that 500 to 800 mile window, that the margins really compress, because that is where I'm really butting heads with carriers, right?
Right.
Because carriers want miles, the big carriers, they want miles. They know that's their magic. That's it. But they also know that they're hiring humans, and those humans have a bandwidth too. And while
Right.
they want miles and they want paychecks, they're only going to go out so far. So
Right.
your windows that are beyond 900 miles are where you can really make money as a brokerage, or your windows before 500 miles are areas where you're going to really see some higher margins in brokerage to be able to do those things, because most of the time your shorter radius guys are not your big carriers. They're your small carriers. They're your mom and pops. They're the people
That's
that
right.
don't have the money to hire a sales force to go out there and get inside the shipper doors. That's
That's
your
right.
job as a broker, to connect them, right? And then the other ones that have to go the longer miles, they're the ones that you need a little meat on the bone to get anybody to travel that way anyways. And typically, just the same, they're your smaller companies that don't have the sales force. But again, it's those 500 to 800 mile windows. I'm truly convinced that's where you're going to see your tightest margins.
Right. Now, Garrett, as we wrap this thing up here and on the topic of learning from your mistakes, I want you to take a listen to this real quick.
Freight Agent Insider Tips for Success.
For the younger listeners out there, man, and you've already shown us quite a few things of what we can learn from. What are the tips that you can leave some of our listeners with today?
Know your strengths, know your weaknesses. Know when it is time to lean on a team member or lean on somebody that is better than you to show you what you can't see. And as much as, being a freight agent and you feel like you kind of have to be everything to everybody, know what you're good at and know what you're not. Because what you are not good at and what you don't realize that you're not good at can hurt you. And I think that's the biggest thing, really right there. And if I could ever, rewind my own life back, it would just say, focus on that blind spot, learn how to understand the blind spot. Don't get me wrong, don't just be ignorant to it your whole life, but understand that, you're going to see the world in this particular way, and not. And then of course, hone in on your strengths and capitalize on that. Your unique ability that you bring to any organization is what people are paying for, and you need to just exercise that.
Garrett, we could go on for another hour easily. I
Yeah.
think I think this warrants a part two to this, because we
All
didn't
right.
get to talk about half of the things that we wanted to talk about
No,
today.
yeah. But hey, the flatbed market's going to change the next time I can get in your schedule, man. You're packed.
Absolutely, but that's part two. Is we're going to talk
There you
about
go.
flatbeds. In fact, Ben Ham, when he was on the show, one of the largest, if not the largest agent in America, focuses strictly on flatbed. It's kind of funny, but your advice that you just gave was almost identical to his advice
Is that right?
of understand your weaknesses. Every great leader knows their strengths. It's a given. But if you know your weaknesses, that's what makes you a dangerous man or a dangerous
That's
woman.
right.
And
Hire those people. Yep. Hire
all the
those
better
people.
leader. And that's where
Yep.
you're at, Garrett. I think you're an incredible leader, and the things that you've gone through just make you all the more incredible leader moving forward from here. So with that, we're done for the day, guys. We went a little bit over today, but it was so worth it. Thank you for joining us. We will be back on next Monday, 9 a.m. Central, for another great episode. Thank you guys for joining. Garrett, thank you so much for being here today, man.
Thank you, Levi.
Appreciate
I
you.
really appreciate it, man.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching the Freight Agent Insider Podcast. Like us, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, and LinkedIn